The city of brotherly love awaits. It is the Brewers. It is the Phillies. This weekend, you are Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. The weekend is here. My name is Dominic Cotroneo. This is Locked On Brewers, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe wherever you may be listening from, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and subscribe to us on our YouTube page. The video version of all of these podcasts are posted onto YouTube as well. I'm the statistician for Bally Sports Wisconsin, getting ready to bring you all the action this weekend from Philadelphia as the Brewers are taking on the Phillies for a 3-game set starting tonight at 6 o'clock out in Philly. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Of course, we don't have a game to recap from yesterday. We're going to be talking about going into the time capsule and going into a time machine of looking back at 13 games in of last season. What's the same, what's different, what's surprising, what's not, and then we're going to briefly preview tonight's game. A shorter episode to get your weekend going here, given we are still very, very, very early into this season. Just 13 games in. Still a lot to figure out. The Brewers, of course, are 8-5, off to a solid start. And full disclosure, recording this during the Pirates-Cubs game, so standings could change a little bit. But as it stands right now, that the Brewers are currently tied for the lead with the Cardinals. But, of course, the Cardinals have played 2 fewer games in the division. The Cubs are 6-6. The Pirates are 5-7 at the time of recording, but the Pirates have a lead, 4-3, so Vogelback went yard. Anyway, we're going to look back to kind of ease the waters, ease the tension of a slow start with the offense. And I know a lot of folks are saying, well, the whole point of the offseason was to improve the offense, and, well, they barely did that with Renfroe and McCutchen so far, but we're going to just take a deep breath and look back at 2021. And a reminder, a team that won 95 games also got off to an ice-cold start offensively. And you could argue the pitching staff is just now getting into form this second, third time through the rotation. So we're going to talk about all of that looking back. And we're also going to preview Ranger Suarez tonight and the Phillies tonight for the Brewers. So last time we talked, Brewers are currently riding a 4-game winning streak, of course. They swept the Pirates, and now they're getting ready to face the Phillies. The Phillies, a team they had a lot of trouble with a season ago. Remember, they had the sweep in Philly. They really embarrassing games, a couple of shutouts, a grand slam. Things got out of hand quickly against the Phillies in those series last season at Citizens Bank Ballpark, but it was still super early in the season. That was part of a 6-game losing streak, all on the road, with 4 losses in Philly, and then they lost the first game in Miami, and they didn't see the Phillies again for quite a while. So the point is this: if you can catch a team at the right time, like it seems like they are right now, because the Phillies are coming in at 5-8, you can take advantage of it. Because look, the fact that you started with some pretty good teams in the Cubs and the Cardinals, but then caught the Orioles at the right time, and then you maybe caught the Pirates at the right time, and you're going to see them again at the end of this road trip. It's all about timing, of course, because the Brewers, they faced them in the first month of the season in April. They didn't see them again until September, and they won 2 out of 3 in that series in September when they were a completely different team and outscored them by a total of 24-6 in that 3-game series. So it's all about timing, so maybe this is the good time to catch the Phillies. So let's talk about this offense. So let's give you the straight slash line right now. Right now, the team is hitting .208. Has an on-base of .291, has a slugging of .348, and an OPS of .639. They're averaging about 3.5 runs per game right now. They've only hit 10 home runs as well. Now I want you to take a moment, hear the slash line again, and I want you to guess which of these numbers is better or worse than 13 games in from last season. Okay, so a .208 average, do you think that's better or worse than 13 games in last year? The answer is better. Just marginally. Last season, the Brewers were hitting .201, 13 games in. Okay, on-base percentage. .291 on base this season. Do you think it's better or worse last season? It's better last season. That kind of... .291 is a terrible number, obviously, but .301 from last season isn't much better, but just beat them on that. Slugging percentage. .348 this season. Do you think it's higher or lower at this time last season? It was lower last season. .332, so by 16 points it was lower last season. And finally, OPS, you can put that 2 and 2 together, that because The OPS, obviously, on base plus slugging, and the slugging is higher and the on base is lower. It's going to be pretty close, but just by 6 points, the OPS is higher this year. Now, I'm not trying to say, oh, these are good numbers. They're not good numbers. No, these are not going to stick around for the entire season. We know that. And obviously, the spark plug that was Willy Adames arriving for the Brewers certainly got things going for them offensively. By the end of the season, their offense was much, much better as a team. They were hitting .233 at the end of the season. They were hitting a .396 slugging and a .713 OPS. And I know what you're thinking. That's terrible, Dom. That's not very good. You're right. But again, they still increased their average by 33 points. It's not easy to raise a team average. And I know it's only 13 games, but it's just a reminder that there's a lot of season to go here. Okay, so I was laughing at those numbers. Diving a little deeper into the numbers, too. There were 13 homers hit last season at this point, 13 games in. They were averaging more runs per game as well. Maybe something to do with the runners in scoring position not having as many opportunities. The Brewers did not give themselves many opportunities against the Pirates this past week, so that's got to change, obviously. But I was caught by surprise about the strikeouts. Last season, they struck out 23 more times in 13 games. I mean, that's about half of a game right there of plate appearances that are strikeouts. You know, that's a lot of strikeouts. And they're right on par with walks from last year. They have 6 fewer walks this year as opposed to last year. So something to keep an eye out for, because Rock has said it a few times on the TV broadcast. The Brewers are actually first in the National League, depending on the day. It's between them and the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks even, of lowest chase rate so far in the young season. That'd be a great trend to continue moving forward here in the season. If they can continue to command their strike zone, not chase pitches, it's going to make things harder and harder on opposing pitchers to get these guys out. There may not be as many traditional power threats aside from Rowdy Tellez, and if Christian Yelich is for real and continuing a better start than what we expected out of him, then you could get some more power and start to control the zone a little bit better. But this team is obviously identified by drawing walks and getting on base and kind of picking you apart, not by hitting home runs constantly like the Phillies will be this weekend. So I thought that was very interesting. And if you want to take a wild guess, and we've already said this on the podcast before, 13 games in, who do you think was the leading hitter last season for the Brewers? I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The answer is Omar Narvaez. 3 games in, he was hitting .363 with 12 hits. Know who was second? Billy McKinney. He was hitting .353. Again, a great example of how much is going to change in the middle of the season. Travis Shaw was leading the team with home runs. He had 3 homers at this point in the year last year. And a reminder of a couple of cold starts. Colton Wong only played 7 games of the first 13 games because he felt his oblique strain coming on. He only missed about 15 games or so. But he was only hitting .105 in his first 7 games. He was off to a nice cold start, as well as Luis Urias. He was just 5 for 35, having played in every single game last season. So, what I'm getting at with all of this is the point is there's a lot of season to go. These guys will snap out of these funks. I mean, Colton Wong's not off to a great start this season either, and he's healthier this season, you would imagine. But right now, the leading hitter on the team is Rowdy Tellez, and he's hitting .270. Omar Narvaez is right there at .269. Kutch is hitting .250. He's got 3 doubles. Tellez has got 3 doubles and 3 homers. Yelich, although he's hitting .195, he's still drawing his walks. He's struck out a ton, which isn't really like Yelly, but he's got the grand slam. He's got the 4 doubles as well. See if he can string a few hits together this weekend too. And the bottom of this order hasn't been doing much either. I mean, Brasso had that great homer in Chicago. He is just 2 for 13 this season, and Jace Peterson is just 3 for 27 this season. So slow starts kind of seem to be the MO right now for the Brewers, and even Willy Adames is hitting .167 right now. So Wong's hitting .191. If they are 8-5 with this inept of an offense at this point, you got to imagine when they warm up and when they start seeing more pitchers, it's going to have to get better. It will naturally get better, and that's what I anticipate so far this season from the Brewers. We're going to look at the pitching side here in just a second. Before we do that, remind you about our friends at Built Bar. If you haven't used it already, we've got a great promo code for you, LOCKED15 at Built.com. That's BUILT.com. And you're going to get 15% off your order with that promo code. Their Built Bars are 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. It is better than a candy bar, and it's actually good for you. The flavors are amazing: mint brownie, coconut almond, white chocolate cookies and cream. They got the little marshmallow puffs that are protein infused as well. It's a sweet treat that happens to be good for you as well. Again, LOCKED15 is the promo code, LOCKED15 at BuiltBuilt.com. Also, we are pleased to be brought to you by BlueNile.com. Of course, Mother's Day is right around the corner, and if she's preferring a statement piece or something subtle that she can wear every day, BlueNile.com has fine jewelry options for every mom out there. You can shop high-quality, classic diamond earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, or even gemstone pendant necklaces, and you can work with their jewelers to create the piece of her dreams this Mother's Day. They're committed to ensuring that the highest ethical standards are observed, too, when sourcing diamonds and jewelry. Look, I don't know much about the diamond world. These folks know their stuff. They can help you with expert advice 24/7, legendary service for 30-day returns as well in case it doesn't work out. So when you commit to a piece with Blue Nile, so do them. They have guaranteed service and repair for life. So get a piece that mom will never forget this Mother's Day. She will treasure it forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And you got a promo code there as well. Use Locked On when you get $50 off of a purchase of $500 or more. Again, the promo code is Locked On purchases of $500 or more. You're going to get $50 off, and it ships for free. Everything is insured, and it arrives in discreet packaging. So that way we won't give away what's inside this Mother's Day. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece at BlueNile.com. Let's get to the pitching side of things. Pitching last season was the highlight of the reason why they were 7-6, 13 games into the year. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, they all got off to great starts. But let's split it by starters and by relievers, not just by total ERA, because the numbers are pretty drastic, as far as team numbers. And the number one thing that jumps out is the walks. 10 more walks last season as opposed to this season, and 11 fewer strikeouts from last season to this season. So you can instantly look at the walks for a reason. Part of the reason why there are fewer strikeouts and why there's a higher ERA, a 3.47 team ERA so far this year versus a 3.15 at this point last season. The starters last year went like this. The starters had a 2.04 ERA 13 games in. This year, 3.92. And there's a few clunkers in Chicago in that, so it's starting to come down a little bit. Their whip at this point last year was under 1, so it's really not fair to continue to compare. The relievers really surprised me because, remember, I've talked about this a lot. Devin Williams got off to a cold start last year, but he wasn't the only one in this bullpen that got off to a cold start. Remember, Drew Rasmussen got off to a terrible start. Josh Lindblom got off to a terrible start. Eric Yardley got off to terrible starts. It wasn't helping the team ERA. As a reliever team ERA, it was 4.86 last season. 4.86 last year, 13 games in. This year, it's 2.91. So nearly 2 earned runs fewer on average versus last season. And I know it feels like the sky is falling when Devin Williams is pitching. He's really been the only one that you can plug saying, oh, wow, that's kind of odd. Everyone else's, this bullpen's been really, really good so far. They've struck out a few more batters, just a handful more batters. They are giving up base runners a little bit, but this bullpen is holding its own. Jake Cousins, with the wild pitches, don't show up the same because of them being inherited runners of a couple of runs scoring against him, but you look at last season's bullpen, mentioned the guys that struggled. JP Fireeisen at this point last year was your best reliever that wasn't named Josh Hader. JP Fireeisen had 7 scoreless innings without an earned run. He had 6 strikeouts, 4 walks. He had a tough go of it in Chicago, of course, in that opening week down there at Wrigley, but then he was on a great, great roll. And I've said this a handful of times now on this podcast that if JP Fireeisen does not get off to the start that he got off to, I don't know if you're able to pull off the Willy Adames trade. Because, of course, he was sent to Tampa Bay, and he's one of their 8th, 9th inning guys. They do a closer by committee type thing, but they felt confident enough in his slider and his changeup that he can be a big part of their bullpen, especially the back end, whereas the Brewers' bullpen was pretty much full, with Boxberger starting to emerge, a guy who didn't even make the team. Then you have Williams, who was supposed to be the 8th inning. He got off to the cold start, and Josh Hader has the 9th. So my point with all of this is that it's still so early to look at it. It's comical to look at the guys that were leading the team. Like I said, I already said Billy McKinney and Travis Shaw having great starts of the year last year. We all know that they didn't end up on the team even by June, even by July. They were off the team by then. And granted, Shaw due to injury, but then he was sent over to Boston. Furthermore, JP Fireeisen was traded. Drew Rasmussen was traded. Josh Lindblom got sent to AAA. Eric Yardley got sent to AAA. So I'm not saying, with a 28-man roster and a 14-man bullpen right now, it's obviously going to look different in just 2 weeks when the rosters go back down to 26 and a 13-man pitching staff. My point with all of this is that we're going to laugh looking back at 13 games and like, man, this guy wasn't falling. They were 8-5 and they still managed to get it together. Who knows what's going to happen by the trade deadline? Who knows what David Stearns and company are going to pull off to maybe improve the offense if that's what they need, just kind of like what it is last season when they got Willy Adames. It's just so early to tell. Man, at this time last year, we thought Akil Baddoo was going to be the AL Rookie of the Year, and then we thought it was going to be Adolis Garcia before it ended up being Randy Arozarena, even though he's been a rookie for like 4 straight years. Wander Franco hadn't even debuted yet. And then in the National League side of things, it was all assumed that the Brewers, they'd hang around, they'll be good. But then the Cubs started to implode in the middle of the spring and early summer, and the Brewers started to run away with it, of course. Look at right now. Colorado is suddenly leading the NL West. They're up there. And the Padres are off to a good start. The Dodgers are getting it back together too. But it's just like, we're going to look back and think, oh, wow, we are so wrong about that guy or that team. We're 13 games in. Don't hit the panic button. Stick with me, okay? So let's talk about tonight's starter and tonight's preview of tonight's game, Ranger Suarez and the Phillies. Before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. Of course, NBA playoffs are going on. Tough news with Chris Middleton yesterday. You can get the full reaction, of course, from our friends at Locked On Bucks with Kane Pittman. Does a great job with that. But BetOnline has everything you need to know about the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs coming up, the MLB season that is here. They have so much content that you can learn about all the trends and all the action. They've got more props, more odds, more lines, everything that you could ever imagine at BetOnline. They've got esports on there. They've got sports wagering info, live betting, so much on their website. You can access it on your phone as well. Again, it's betonline.net. BetOnline, where the game starts. Tonight, Ranger Suarez getting the ball for the Phillies as the Brewers will counter with Freddie Peralta making his third start of the season. Suarez is 1-0 with 5.87 ERA. Freddie is 0-1 with an 11.57 ERA. It has not been Freddie's start to the season ideally for him, but today's a great chance for him to get back on track. Once again, a 6:05 first pitch on Bally Sports Wisconsin, and it'll be Jeff Levering and Bill Schroeder on the call. Tomorrow, Adrian Hauser and Zach Wheeler, and then on Sunday, Sunday Night Baseball, Eric Lauer against Aaron Nola. So Ranger Suarez is a guy that the Brewers have actually never seen in his big league career. He made his debut in 2018, Venezuelan lefty. And the Brewers have had trouble with lefties in their last couple of years. Last season, they went just 20-19 against left-handed pitchers. And this season, they are just 1-3 against left-handed pitchers. And that's starters. That is left-handed starters, I should say. Ranger last season, he was a jack of all trades for the Phillies. Was originally coming up as a starter, was asked to move to the bullpen. He became a swingman in the middle of the year, trying to get multiple innings. Then was one of the only high-leverage guys that they could trust in the back of their bullpen with the Phillies. Started closing games. He even got 4 saves last year. And then when they acquired Ian Kennedy from the Rangers, he became the closer. And then with his season-ending injury to another starter whose names escape me, Ranger became a part of the starting rotation. And overall, he threw 106 innings last year and had a 1.36 ERA. Now, half of those innings were in relief, but he finished the year very impressively as a starter for the Phillies, as they were just on the outside looking in as far as trying to make it to the postseason. 1.36 ERA, 8-5 record, 107 strikeouts, 33 walks for Ranger Suarez. And look, we talked about the lefties and that the lineup seems to look differently every time a lefty comes and starts opposite. So what I'd be looking out for in today's lineup whenever it comes out is Rowdy Tellez starting. Is he getting the start at first base against a left-handed pitcher? Number 2, is Keston Hiura going to DH after hitting his homer? And does that mean if he's DHing, does Andrew McCutchen play left field and Christian Yelich get a day off? That's the big question from today's lineup card, because we've already seen 13 games into the season that Craig Counsell's lineup card will not only have Yelich as a DH, but he'll give Yelich a day off, even against a lefty, to knowing that he has Andrew McCutchen capable of playing left field, knowing he has Keston Hiura here for a little bit longer until the rosters have to shrink to face left-handed pitching. So those are the number one things that I'm looking to see with this lineup. And also, assuming McCutchen is in the order, he would probably be leading off. And does Colton Wong continue to bat 7th against lefties, given the way the rest of this order would shake out? Because you would lead off with McCutchen. Does Willy Adames continue to bat 2nd, or do you move somebody up, say put McCutchen maybe the 3-hole and switch things around if you want to keep Wong in the leadoff spot? So there's a lot to figure out as far as what the lineup looks for. On the bright side, you have the entire A bullpen available as well, given yesterday's off day. So everybody is available, even though you had to use Williams and Boxberger there at the end, including Hader at the end of that series against the Pirates. But everybody is certainly available. And we mentioned it a moment ago, but the Phillies are off to a 5-8 start. We know about their offense, but the pitching continues to disappoint for Joe Girardi's club, as so far in the season, it has not been very pretty for them. They do have some stars in Wheeler and Nola, but they haven't been able to get the support that they've been expecting, especially out of the bullpen, too. They've tried to make additions, but currently the Phillies have a 5.22 team ERA, which is second worst in the National League. Only team worse is the Cincinnati Reds, which is to be expected, right? And they walk a handful of batters. They give up a ton of homers. They've given up 11 homers so far this season. Maybe that's a chance for the Brewers bats to get going again here in 2022. Short, sweet episode today. Just taking a peek at things from last year. Don't hit the panic alarm yet. We got a lot of baseball to go, everybody. My name is Dominic Cotroneo. Hope you all have a great, safe, happy weekend. Enjoy the great weather tomorrow. Today kind of stinks with the rain, of course, but enjoy the great weather tomorrow. Spring is coming, and then we're going to go back to fake spring next week. I just want it to be nice. Thank goodness we have a roof. So keep it locked on Bally Sports Wisconsin, of course, this weekend. You'll hear great numbers to blow your mind with Jeff Levering and Bill Schroeder as well. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at LockedOnBrewers. I'm at Dom_Cotroneo. Thanks again for listening. Have a great, great weekend. Tell your Brewer friends about our podcast, too. We are your only daily podcast dedicated to your favorite team. Thanks so much, everybody. Until next time, keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.